Hello, this is Mr. Chabry, and I have another narrated Pokemon battle for you. So this is a battle against this account was taken. On my team, I have the Mega Sableye. Mega Sableye is a Pokemon I've been wanting to try out lately. It's a pretty interesting Pokemon. And looking at my opponent's team, my opponent has Heatran and Magearna, two Pokemon that are very scary. So what I want to do is lead off with Sableye. I'm expecting my opponent to lead off with Heatran and go for Stealth Rocks, but actually my opponent goes with Tapu Fini first. And that's really not the best matchup for me. Sableye is weak to Fairy types. So what I'm going to do though is go ahead, Mega Evolve. I do have Protect on my Sableye. If this thing wants to go for like a taunt or something, it would bounce back to it. So what I'm going to do is just Protect, let the magic bounce do its work, as my opponent goes for Nature's Madness. So since my opponent went for Nature's Madness, maybe there's a chance that it doesn't have Moonblast, but I want to go into Nihilego just to be safe. So this is a Scarfed Nihilego, and I'm pretty sure it can outspeed most of the Pokemon on my opponent's team. Here Nihilego will take a Nature's Madness. I'm not too worried about that. And he's going to go into Heatran. Here, I just went ahead, go for the Sludge Wave. That way, if my opponent stays in, I can take it out. And if not, if my opponent goes into Heatran, I can easily swap back into my Sableye. So what I'm trying to do here is prevent Stealth Rocks. And my opponent's actually going to swap out instead of staying in and bring in Charizard. So I'm pretty sure this is a Mega Charizard X or Y, I don't know as of yet. I'm still kind of nervous, but what I'm going to do is go into Crocodile. What I'm thinking is maybe it's Mega Charizard X. I can get the Intimidate. That will put some more pressure on my opponent, but this thing ends up being Mega Charizard Y. So, yeah, that's not really the best matchup for me. If this was Mega Charizard X, Crocodile coming in here would be really nice, but unfortunately, this Mega Charizard Y will go for Flamethrower in the sun. Yeah, Crocodile is not living that. So, unfortunately, we lose our Crocodile pretty early on. I made a risky play, and it didn't pan out the way I thought it would. So, here, I'm just going to go into Nihilego. This thing is Scarfed, like I said, so it will outspeed Charizard. My opponent's now going to swap the Charizard out and bring Heatran in. And like I said, there's not really much that Nihilego can do to Heatran. I go for just a Power Gem, just in case my opponent stays in. Power Gem will actually hit the Heatran for what looks like a third damage. So, yeah, it's not really the best for me. So what I'm going to do is swap out. I'm not letting Nihilego go down yet. And I'll go into Sableye. That way, if this thing goes for Stealth Rocks, I will bounce them back. Unfortunately for me, my opponent goes for Lava Plume. And that actually does quite a bit of damage to my Sableye. And it burns Sableye. So, yeah, we're not in a good position right now. My wall is burnt, and it's going to be taking some damage each turn. So now my opponent's going to withdraw the Heatran and bring Tapu Fini back out. Tapu Fini, like I said, is kind of scary, especially against my Sableye. Here, what I'm going to do, though, is actually just go for a knockoff. If I knock off the item on the Heatran, that's good. If I knock off the leftovers on the Tapu Fini, that's good as well. But that's basically why I just went for that. Just to knock an item off of something. And here my opponent's going to withdraw the Heatran and go into Greninja. So I'm kind of nervous. What I went for was Protect, though, just to scout out to see what Tapu Fini wanted to go for. I should have probably just went for the Recover there. It would have been risky, but it would have been a better play, however. So now I'm going to go into Chestnut, and if you've watched my battles before, you know Chestnut has really nice bulk. It can take a lot of hits. Here it's going to take this Hydro Pump. It's better as a physical wall, I'd like to say that, because it takes a lot from Hydro Pump there. So now I've got my Chestnut in. My opponent's not going to stay in. I was kind of worried that my opponent might have Ice Beam or something like that, but my opponent swaps out, so it's making me think maybe my opponent doesn't have Ice Beam. But what I'm going to do is just go for a Leech Seed, and just get some seeds on something, get some health back. If I can keep this Chestnut very well on health, then that will help me take a lot of physical hits. So right here we're going to get a little bit of health back, and it looks like we're slowly working off how much damage that Greninja did with Hydro Pump. So here what I'm going to do, my opponent's actually going to swap out and bring Heatran back in. Heatran can take quite a few hits that Charizard might not be able to. I just go for the Spiky Shield so I can get a little bit more health back. But yeah, that's not really what's going to pan out here. My opponent brings in Heatran, and now Chestnut doesn't have the seeds up on anything. But we are really high on health now. We're almost full, but not enough. But I don't want to stay in. The sun's still up. This thing can hit really hard, and it could hit a Lava Plume on my Chestnut, take it out. So here I bring in my Mega Sableye, as my opponent does go for the Stealth Rocks finally. So it finally worked out the way I thought it would have worked in the first turn. So now there's Stealth Rocks on my opponent's team, and my side of the field is still clear, but Sableye slowly going down on health. And this Lava Plume looks like it probably will take out Sableye. So yeah, Sableye goes down. The sun's up, a Lava Plume, Sableye's burnt. Yeah, it's not living that. So now Heatran's going to get some health back. And I'm going to actually go into Greninja now. I know the sun is still up, but what I want to do is put some pressure on my opponent, have them switch out, and I can just go for a U-turn. That way I can bring in something that is a better matchup to whatever my opponent sends in. So my opponent's actually going to bring in the Tapu Fini. So I just go ahead, U-turn on out, bring the Greninja back. And I'm going to end up being able to throw out whatever I want. And I just go ahead, send out Nihilego here. I know that my opponent still has 2 Steel types, and the Sludge Wave wouldn't make much sense. But actually my opponent stays in here. So Sludge Wave would have been better. It would have taken out the Tapu Fini, and I would have still had Stealth Rocks on my opponent's side of the field. But I just went for Thunderbolt there because I thought that would be the safer play. But unfortunately, my opponent stays in with the Tapu Fini. It would have been really nice to get a Sludge Wave there, possibly take out the Tapu Fini. The Stealth Rocks would still be on my opponent's side of the field, and I would be in a better position. But now, Heatran's going to come back in. I no longer have Sableye, so unfortunately for me, there are going to be Stealth Rocks on my side of the field now. And there's not much I can really do to stop that. The fact that Crocodile went down so early on is really bad, because Crocodile would have been perfect here to send in on this thing. But unfortunately, yeah, we are here. We have Stealth Rocks on the field, and I'm going to go into Greninja, trying to put a little bit more pressure. I'm pretty sure Heatran could take a Hydro Pump, because Heatran's a very bulky Pokemon, actually. But now my opponent's actually going to swap into the Tapu Koko. And the Tapu Koko is going to go ahead, set up the Electric Surge. But what I go ahead and do is just go for the Hydro Pump. I'm trying to get as much damage on something. And luckily for me, this Tapu Koko will go down here. So this thing could have been a threat. It's not the biggest threat because my opponent still has Magearna and Heatran, 2 Steel types that I'm going to have trouble taking down. But I do have my Ash Greninja here. So Ash Greninja has a nice boost to its special attack, and it can hit really hard. So now my opponent's going to bring the Charizard back out. And Charizard's still kind of a scary Pokemon. But what I'm going to do is just go ahead, go for the Hydro Pump. It should still do a lot of damage, even in the sun, as it does take out the Charizard. So we're slowly making a comeback here. But unfortunately for me, the Magearna is here, so there's not really much I can do to Magearna. If it knocks out any of my Pokemon, it basically gets a free special attack boost. So what I want to do is bring in Volcarona. Maybe this thing will go for Fleur Cannon, and I can kill it the next turn, but unfortunately, it will go for the Shift Gear. So now it will outspeed pretty much my entire team. My opponent's actually going to swap out here, though, and maybe that's a good play because Magearna is a really good Pokemon for my opponent's team. Once it goes down, there's more of a chance for me to make a comeback. But yeah, I need to take out that Magearna. I just go ahead, go for the Fire Blast, as my opponent swaps in the Greninja, and I get the burn. But unfortunately for me, my opponent will just go for the Dark Pulse, and that will get a crit. So I'm not sure if the crit mattered there. I know Volcarona is a pretty decently bulky Pokemon, but unfortunately the crit will take out the Volcarona. So now my opponent has the Ash Greninja, and I am not in a good position. My opponent still has Magearna, Heatran, and now this threat that's on the field. So I'm not really in a good position here. I lost my main counter to Magearna here. So what I'm going to go into is Chestnut. I'm thinking maybe my opponent is locked into Dark Pulse. Maybe my opponent has a choice item. So I'm going to go into Chestnut here. Chestnut will be able to finish off the Greninja with a Drain Punch. And that's really the only hope I've got to even make a comeback. Even though Heatran can come in and finish off my Chestnut, things are still looking really bad for me. The Magearna is still going to be a big threat, and I am now trying to climb an uphill battle here. So now my opponent's going to go into Tapu Fini, and Tapu Fini's low on health, but it still could get some pretty big damage on my Chestnut. If it went for Nature's Madness, that would have my HP, but it actually does have the Moonblast. So yeah, unfortunately for me, my Chestnut will go down here. Chestnut's not really doing much in the rest of this battle because my opponent has Heatran and Magearna, which both outspeed. So now I'm going to go into Nihilego and just lock myself into Thunderbolt. It's really the only move I've got that can really do anything to Magearna neutrally. Plus, if I locked myself into Power Gem, my opponent could just go into Magearna. But now my opponent's going to go into Heatran. And really, the only way I could win this is if I get a Paralysis and start getting lucky. But the Misty Surge is still up. So, yeah, that's not really going to work out. My opponent actually goes for Lava Plume, which makes me think maybe this Heatran, its only attacking move is Lava Plume. Most Heatrans I see also have like Flash Cannon maybe, Earth Power maybe. But since this thing only has Lava Plume, I can start getting some damage back onto this Heatran. What I'm hoping for is the Misty Terrain to go away. That way I could possibly paralyze the Magearna, paralyze this Heatran. And looking at this, Nihilego can take this thing out with a Thunderbolt. And that leaves my opponent's Magearna. So this is where things are going to come down to the wire. Can Nihilego paralyze the Magearna? If the Magearna gets paralyzed, then I'm in a really good position. Even if this thing goes for Shift Gear. If this thing just goes for an attacking move, Ash Greninja can come in later on and finish this thing off. So I just go for the Thunderbolt. That looks like a 2-hit KO. My opponent's going to go for Shift Gear. And this is where things are going down to the wire. So unfortunately, I can't paralyze this thing. It's not paralyzed. And it's got a nice speed boost there. So I'm in a really bad position here. It's going to outspeed me and go for the Thunderbolt. That will finish Nihilego. It will get the Soul Heart boost. And I'm not so sure that a Water Shuriken can take this thing out. So I'm in a bad position. The only chance I have to win is if my Ash Greninja can outspeed this Magearna. I'm not sure right off the top of my head Magearna's speed, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to have the ability to outspeed me with those boosts. It might have been a speed tie, I'm not sure, but Magearna will take out my Ash Greninja. It will go down, and unfortunately we lose to the Magearna. But Magearna's a really good Pokemon. It's really hard to face, and it's got really nice stats. Shift Gear is a really nice move to have for Magearna because it just makes your Magearna that much stronger. So, yeah, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next battle video.